Okay, so that was very much a networking type activity that we did, and you are really strong in this area. So the World Economic Forum made you a young global leader, which includes people like Mark Zuckerberg and Leonardo DiCaprio. I imagine being part of that community and other communities that you talked about in your previous answers, I imagine they give you access to an amazing network of people and highly intelligent and ambitious and successful people. We talked about the importance of that a moment ago, but for people that haven't began that journey and started to surround themselves with people better than they are, how do they do that? Like to the young entrepreneur listening at home right now, they don't know anybody. How could they actually just go out there and start meeting people and building that peer group around them?
Yeah, great. I mean, to put it in context, I am from a small sheep farming town on the south coast of the South Island of New Zealand.
I've been there. It's a lovely place.
Really,
but not much happening.
Very few people go there.
Yeah.
Like, really nothing is happening there.
Yeah.
So the reason I mention that is I'm definitely not a Nepo baby. I'm not even from this country, So I actually think I do have a really great, strong network now, but it is 100% possible to build as an outsider and a stranger. And I think you just start where you start, and you make friends, and you get out there and you go to events. When I first founded Koru Kids, it was in 2016. The startup scene was doing really well with lots of cool events. There was Product Tank, which was a really vibrant scene. There was an event series called Don't Pitch Me Bro, if anyone remembers that. And that was, weirdly, it was a pitch series, I think. But anyway, you knew it wasn't pitches. You were meant to talk about your startup somehow without pitching. Anyway, okay. So it was basically there were lots of beer and pizza events. And I just went to every single thing I could go to and made friends. I never really think of it as networking, because I don't want to spend my life like hanging out with people who I don't want to. I see it as making friends. Yeah. I think that's if you think about it like that, then even if it doesn't go anywhere, that's not the point. Like, you don't make friends in order to achieve something. You just make friends because it's fun. And then you end up with, a whole bunch of people who you really like. And if they're nice, they probably have other nice friends. So it really is just building relationships one at a time. Yeah. And then really everything that I have done, like just almost everything I've done has come in one way or another from an introduction to this person, to this person, to this person.
Yeah, no, me too. And you don't know what that's going to look like moving forward. Like, you can't plan it. You can't go, I'm going to meet this person, so this can happen. You just need to get out there, meet them, make friends, make genuine, real, authentic relationships without any agenda in mind. And then suddenly, a couple of years later, you can look back and connect the dots backwards and go, oh yeah, this all happened because of this and because of that. But you don't know unless you start. So the key thing is just to get out there and start meeting people. No, you don't have to have a plan. You don't have to have an agenda. Just go out there and start, building real relationships. Yeah. Try and add value. Yeah. Before Koru Kids, you had a really interesting background, right? So you've worked in 10 different industries in 7 different countries. From oil fields in Norway to a mine in Utah with Mormons. You've got a doctorate from the University of Oxford, and you were even awarded the best businesswoman in technology, which is a very cool bio. So what motivates you? What makes you get out of bed, and what inspires you to do these things?
I think initially I wanted to break out of my small town, and so I always worked very hard and always wanted to be kind of at the center of things. I had the real sense of living on the periphery and wanting always to get into the center. And then I now have been in enough rooms in the center to know that, it's not all that.
Yeah.
But that's been like a useful thing to viscerally feel. And, I know for an absolute certainty I never want to be famous, for example, which is actually quite a freeing thing to kind of know. So now what motivates me is I really want to build something of substance and build something which is a significant contributor to the society that we live in. I've always been very political. I studied politics. My PhD's in politics. I think a lot about politics and society, and I've always been very interested in the intersection between politics and business. And I'm very worried about the direction that society's going in at the moment. I think there's been a huge erosion of trust, erosion of institutions, and the organic institutions that are springing up to fill that void, I think in many cases are scary new institutions or new beliefs. I think we're going backwards in a lot of ways, on rights and respect. Very concerned about anti-Semitism, new misogyny. So I want to contribute to the fight, and the scholarship that brought me over here, which was a Rhodes Scholarship to Oxford. What they look for in people that they give this scholarship to is, there's this phrase we always use, Rhodes Scholars, and that's fighting the world's fight. And that was written in Cecil Rhodes's will in the 1800s. Cecil Rhodes was like a terrible person. But anyway, he wrote this thing about how he wanted people who would fight the world's fight. And that's what I want to do. I want to fight the world's fight. And I do think it's a very important time right now to fight that world's fight.
Yeah, I mean, why do anything else? If you get one opportunity in one life, do something big, do something bold, do something that helps make the world a better place. I mean, why do anything else, right?
No, I agree. I sort of, otherwise why get out of bed? You may as well just watch Netflix.
Exactly.
Yeah, which is fine also.
Yeah, which is fun, but you know, a little bit of that, it's okay. Okay, so a few months ago, you posted on LinkedIn the advice, don't lose twice. I love that idea. Tell me a little bit more about, I guess, why you wrote that.
Yeah, so this is a thought that I think comes up in lots of different cultural contexts. I think it's Buddhist, I think it's probably other stuff, I think it's Stoic, and there's lots of different ways of expressing this idea. When something annoying happens to you. So I was 15 minutes late to this podcast, right? Okay. And you had a choice. You could have been annoyed. You might have been annoyed with that. I might be throwing out your day, and I'm sorry about that. But you could have brought that grumpiness, if you were grumpy, which he wasn't, by the way, but he could have been. You could have brought that into this conversation, and therefore made this conversation worse, and that would have been losing twice. And you know, in Ted Lasso, the phrase is "be a goldfish," right? Which is just immediately forget. And Rafa Nadal recently in a graduation speech said the same thought when he said his version of it was next point. And what he said, as the most successful tennis player of all time, he said, I have won only 56% of all the points that I've ever played, which is actually pretty astounding when you think about it. And so he said, he loses an incredible percentage of the time. And what he does is, whenever he loses a point, in his mind, he thinks, next point, next point, next point. Be a goldfish, don't lose twice, next point. It's all the same thought. And I think this all the time. I've ever since I heard that tennis one, I've started saying to myself, maybe because it's just quicker, next point, next point.
And it's like a spiral. If you obsess over a little thing that's gone wrong, suddenly it turns into the next thing, the big thing, and then suddenly you've just ruined everything just by focusing on the fact that your coffee was too hot or too cold or something basic, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's in the past, just forget about it, and next thing, how do I win this moment? How do I make this
Yes, next point, next point.
And for the record, we were also a little bit late, so we were very happy that you were late, actually, so it was a relief.